Communications Wing participation in the Battle of Duc Lap during late August 1968. Chronologically, August 23, 1968, marked the beginning of the siege of the two camps at Duc Lap. First to be struck was the MACV subsector headquarters complex. In a radio conversation typical of many exciting missions AC-47s that the wing took part in, Spooky 4-2 gets a radio message leading them to India control at the MACV compound.
Roger, Spooky. India is getting a real heavy ground assault. India is getting a heavy ground assault. Come up there, freaking over. Roger. Head out to 240. And India 105, I'll give it a call on guard. India, Spooky 4-2. 242, this is India. Come in, over. Roger, we're headed inbound at this time. We should be there at about 07. Right. This is India. We're getting 122 on the ground on attack. You want to hold drive for the time being? Roger, give me your position and where you want me to start. Yeah, this is India. We're at 855770. Just put it around the compound, over. Roger, we're headed inbound at this time. We'll be at 5,000 feet. Okay, we can get in there here shortly. We're inbound at this time. Okay, we're going to a little weather crew, so stay fast. Yeah, it's 04 over. Section 04 over. This is India, go! It's 04, Roger. What Spooky is this? What Spooky? It's Spooky 4-2. Got contact with them already. It's 04, Roger. Goddamn weather, look at that. And India 05, I can shoot my rockets down there in a place that you think it'd be worthwhile. This is India, Roger. If you can put them in front of my compound, go ahead. In front of my compound or to the lake side of my compound. Roger. Okay, man, we're going into some pretty heavy weather, so stay tight. Roger, sir, and for your information on his compound, that lake that wasn't out on the map that runs east and west, he's off the east end a half a click on the northeast corner. Northeast corner, okay. Right along the highway. Roger.
That's how the action began at Duc Lap for AC-47 Dragon ships from Nha Trang Air Base, but it was the total effort of both the 3rd and the 4th Special Operations Squadrons at Nha Trang, Pleiku, Phan Rang, and Bien Hoa that kept the night secure. Speaking to Papa, regional forces in the area sometimes led to involved simplicity for the crews, as in this excerpt.
2-3 India.
Roger, India, go ahead, 2-3.
Okay, this India, Papa said that they were making a pretty hard attack down there.
They're under attack at this time, and we don't see a thing going on, but we'll keep working here.
This is India. He said he was under a pretty heavy attack.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Papa India, over. 50 meters from the front, he said they're really getting hit hard.
Right, we see him now, we'll get him. We see him, and he's right, 360 degrees, we're working around it now.
Roger.
Spooky, how we do, number 1, number 10?
Papa, India. Spooky, talk to you now, over.
Papa, this is Spooky, we shoot now, how we do, number 1, number 10? Roger, understand, how we shoot good or we shoot bad? This is Spooky, over. Request, what, Papa? Say again what you request.
Continue the same, more the same, Spooky.
Roger, copy, we'll go. The flashes seem to have ceased. I think we got a few of them.
That's some number 1 info. 2-3 India.
There was certainly no doubting the results. Spooky 2-3, assigned to Pleiku, happened to be chosen for specific honors from the ground troops at India. After working closely together, For several nights, the conversation indicated the hopes and faith held by the beleaguered camp in Spooky.
Roger, any of this, sir?
Say, what say you sort of whipped that thing back and forth from 50 to 100 out, just sort of worked the whole area, 360 over there, over?
Roger, that's what we're doing.
Roger, that's down number one.
I don't know how many of these bad guys there can be, 'cause in the last 5 days we sure killed enough of them.
That sounds like winter. No, we should be giving you a body count tomorrow. You guys are going to have a hatful over in this area, over.
Right, sure would appreciate it, so they can justify us again next month.
There's no doubt in my mind you guys are going to be around here till we all skate on the ice after hell freezes over. You're the number one boys in this area, over.
Okay, glad to hear it. Glad we can help, that's for sure.
Tell you what, there's a handful of round eyes out here that if we've got any kind of word at all, you boys will always be around. You'll have highest priority job around, over.
Okay, these helicopter gunships keep getting all these kills.
Somebody's blowing smoke and I ain't hearing that stuff, over.
Okay, real good. Just so we're helping you, that's all it is.
You're the most uptight thing we got in the area, over.
Okay, real good.
2-3, this India, be advised that my 6 element has renumbered you people. Might be a good idea to pass this to your upper, over.
Okay, what's our name now?
Guardian Angel 2-3, over.
Okay, sure flag.
How copy, over?
Copied, real fine. Sounds like a pretty good name to me.
I tell you what, Spooky 2-3, my 6 element here is one hell of a fine man. And when he heard you guys were coming and the job you were doing, I saw him stand there with tears in his eyes. And I tell you,
I wouldn't switch with you.
again, over.
I say I wouldn't switch with you.
I tell you, if there was anywhere in hell I could, I'd still have you up down here and me up there, over.
Right.
No offense, but I'd sure hell rather be away from here than here.
Yeah, I imagine you would. Maybe it'll be over sometime soon.
Looking like it, this may be a long before another storm, but Charlie's getting his kicked up around his ears. I don't see how I can stand much more.
Following the major attacks, this reporter spoke to some of the men at the Duc Lap subsector. U.S. Army Major Anthony Neves, commander of the regional forces and popular forces at the compound, responds this way with his opinions as a first-hand participant, even as tactical air power continues to strike near his position.
About the spooky pilots and all the facts that well, they were outstanding. Without them, we still wouldn't be here. We got hit at 0105. That's about it. On the 23rd, and we had 5 ground attacks and mortars and rockets for 4 days. And I sincerely believe that these RFPF soldiers not only did an outstanding job as did the rest of my team, but that there's no question in my mind that if it wasn't for the air support, for the wonderful people upstairs, the fact pilots and the spooky pilots, that we wouldn't be here today.
Well, sir, could you describe roughly what it was like all those days here?
Well, the roughest night was the first night. For 4.5 hours, we were in a bunker. We didn't know who held the compound. The NDA were inside the compound. We had an actual body count inside around our team house there of 11 bodies, NDA, and 144 all told in and around the perimeter. Don't know how many outside of that. And we got rocketed and mortared, and they hit us with everything up to 120. Second, third, and fourth day, we repelled 4 ground attacks. 1 the first night, and then in the next 3 days, 4 more ground attacks. And at that time, we had control of the perimeter. We had tremendous air support. And out of an initial force of 118 RFPF soldiers, we were down to 61 on the 3rd morning. Out of 9 advisors, we had 1 killed and 6 wounded, U.S. advisors. So we took a pounding for the first 3 days, and I can only say that I think everybody here prayed just as much as I did, and we're all happy to be here and very proud of these RF soldiers that are not considered number one. They're not armed with the best equipment, and yet they fought the number one fight.
What's it like to see your tactical air cover come in and stay in constantly for those 5 days?
It's a wonderful feeling. They not only were coordinated, they not only were well directed, but the secondary explosions from the intel that we had in the area proved that we were up against quite a large force, and there's no doubting the effectiveness of the air power. Without air superiority, we would never have been able to hold the district headquarters or the CIDG Special Forces camp at Daxak. We all feel, we nicknamed the Spookies Guardian Angels because when they were up there and with us, we knew that we had some protection, and it was, I don't know the exact wording. Maybe, Doc, can you think of something to say other than that it was like we had someone with us, someone watching over us. And I know that I personally believe that a lot of the body count we have to directly credit to Spooky and all of the Spookies and all the secondary explosions in and around this area. And there were many, many of them have to be credited to the wonderful job that the boys upstairs did, not only being directed, but the actual on-target bombing, and it was just tremendous. It was outstanding. Without air superiority, there'd be no Duc Lap district headquarters, and the Special Forces camp wouldn't be there today. What do you say, Doc?
I can't think of anything to say except that the way I felt when I was up there is like when you was a kid, you know, and you're scared, so what do? You put cover over your head, and everything's okay. Well, that's the way it was with Spooky up above us.
As an individual, I appreciate, as a whole team, I'm quite sure we appreciate Spooky 100%, because the reason why there not only was a physical factor above us, it's for protection, but there was a mental factor. I think quite a few of the factors, and some might have panicked in certain areas during the conflict, because they were there, and they were there outstanding. They were there, they were not only guardian angels, they were heaven above.
Down the road, at the second objective mentioned in the form of the Special Forces camp at Doc Sock, Army First Lieutenant William Harp told of his position, and he relates one of the later instances watching the pickup of an F-100 pilot from Tuiwa Air Base and his camp's relation to that pilot when he was shot down just meters from the camp.
Things are getting kind of hairy there. It was touch and go for a while. I lost 2 good Americans off this team. My force got in. They lost 4 good Americans trying to retake the hill that Charlie had taken from us. The morning of the 25th, we just about had given it up. We were breaking out incendiary grenades to destroy the weapons and make it a last-ditch stand, or if possible, try and fight our way out to the southwest. So we weren't sure what the hell was going to happen there for a while. You might say it was like a nightmare. The 3.5 days, or however long it lasted, seemed like about 20 minutes at times. And at other times, it just seemed to drag and drag and drag. And I don't want to go through it again, I'll tell you that much.
Do you think that, well, could you have asked for any more from the tactical air support?
I don't know what they'd have given me unless they'd have jumped out and started shooting 45. They gave me everything they had. Put it right on target.
How long did they go on?
Well, the morning of the 23rd, during daylight hours until the evening of the 25th. And at night times we had Spooky on call, doing a good job. I don't think the Air Force could have given us more. The fact he'd call in airstrikes, and he'd have 3 sets of fighters waiting there, and he had targets for him every time.
Lieutenant, an F-100 went down, and your men went out after him. Could you describe it?
Right. I was sitting outside the team house, had a radio out there, and was watching the action, trying to help the SAC bring in airstrikes and so on. And all of a sudden, I heard over the radio, we've got an F-100 in trouble. I don't know if he's going to eject or not. And I looked up and I saw him eject. And about that time, I believe there were 7 Americans at 2 yards, went running out there, jumped into 2 Jeeps and a 3-quarter, went running out the gate. It was rather unusual. I sat here with a pair of field glasses, kept my eye on the pilot, and they got out there. We had 2 Air Force gunships come in and just hover in the area, making themselves targets to keep the ground fire from going after the pilot and the guys going out to recover him. They got the pilot, picked him up, brought him back, put him in the Jeeps, and they turned around and started coming back. And right just south of our runway, we've got a big gully there. And I'm sitting with glasses watching, and all of a sudden the Jeeps come by and a VC-6's head up. So one of my other team members, Sergeant Blair, who was wounded later on, was sitting in front of me. I said, Sergeant Blair, we got a Charlie down that gulch. He says, why don't you get on the 57? So he got on the 57 recoilless, and I was adjusting him here. And we got one in right in the gully. I don't know if we killed him or not, but later on that pilot got up here, and I can't remember his name right off. He was the first lieutenant. He was the National Guard pilot. And he was a little excited. We calmed him down a little bit, gave him some coffee, and gave him a weapon. And he says, this is something. And about that time, Walt T2 put an airstrike in on the south, and we went out there and were watching that. And we asked him, is this the first time he's seen it from the ground? He said, yes. He says, it is. It's quite impressive, quite impressive. He did a good job while he was here. He said he wanted to stay. But we kept getting nasty radio messages down from higher headquarters to get him out on the first available. So finally, reluctantly, he got on the chopper and went back to Bammy Tuitt and went back to his headquarters. But we picked up his helmet and his backpack here just the other day, and his helmet's kind of banged up a little bit. So it was really something to see. We talked to him later, and he said, he says, he saw the runway, he looked out to his left, and he saw a village, and he ejected. And then when his chute opened up, he looked out and saw the camp. He didn't know the camp was anywhere in sight. And he landed about 1,500 meters from us or so and went out and picked him up.
The helicopters mentioned by Lieutenant Harp, by the way, were UH-1F Green Hornets of the 14th Wing's 20th Special Operations Squadron, who stood by throughout the Battle of Duc Lap. One of Harp's men describes now the AC-47 Dragon ship and how it looked to him.
Our Spookies were tremendous. They stayed with us every night, and they covered. They were receiving ground fire. We could see ground fire going up to them, and they never did quit. They stayed every single night we were hit. They were up there, and they helped in both ways because on a couple of the nights we were getting real low on ammo, especially illumination, and they were able to drop the flares. But seeing that big tongue of fire come down from the sky and then that big blast afterwards, that's really something to know that's on your side.
Army Colonel Rex Sage, senior American advisor to the ARVN 23rd Infantry Division, lauded Spooky and tactical air power without hesitation. Colonel Sage, with the Vietnamese Division commanding officer, General An, twice were driven from the area of battle when their helicopter came under heavy anti-aircraft fire. Unfortunately, the week following the main battle action, the team of commanders, both Sage and An, were killed in action when their helicopter was hit and downed by ground fire near the Duc Lap battlefield.
My comments would deal with the U.S. Air Force and their support of the operation. I have never seen closer cooperation between the TAC Air and the ground forces than was exhibited at Duc Lap. And I think that is one reason that Duc Lap is still in existence today and under Allied control today. Had it not been for the job done by TAC Air and by the Spooky operations at night, I'm sure this outpost would have gone down, and also the subsector, and as well as the scout outpost. The coordination which was effected here at our headquarters in supporting the operation by TAC Air was primarily carried on by Colonel Harrison, our HALO. He and his facts worked day and night in supporting the operation and did truly an outstanding job. I've never seen better performance by any portion of the armed forces.
Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Charles E. Harrison, Air Liaison Officer to the 23rd Division, described some of the action himself, and he might best be the one to sum up the operation with these words. Oftentimes, his forward air controllers coming out to station early in the morning would be meeting the same Spooky they had ushered in at dusk the night before, now back on their third mission of the night.
Another interesting point in the battle was the cooperation between the TAC Air, the fighter pilots, Spooky and on the ground. The ground fire from ground to air was extremely heavy. So there were over 10 known 50 caliber positions and innumerable anti-aircraft positions. To speak nothing of the other crew-served weapons such as 30 calibers, which were also used to fire into the air as well as on the ground. And now and then, monitoring the radio, you would hear the fighter pilot say, "Hey, Walt, they're shooting at you. There's tracers are following you right behind." Walt would ask, "Do you see where it's coming from?" He says, "Roger, got it spotted," and he says, "Go get it." And it was seldom they didn't get it on the first pass. Spook would do the same thing. It was seldom more than 20 minutes or 25 minutes between flights of aircraft, and they remained over target throughout the day. With the exception of the third day, there was hardly 1 minute out of the first 5 days that TAC Air was not being put on a target or two targets in the Duc Lap area. It was a tremendous coordinated effort. It was one of the finest I've seen, and it really makes you thrilled to the idea of being part of such an exceptionally fine operation.
This recording includes intercom conversation and interviews with Army personnel at the camps defended by spooky aircraft during the combat action at Duc Lap in late August 1968. Compiled and produced by the 14th Special Operations Wing Information Division, this recording is provided to those men at Nha Air Base who were, directly and indirectly, responsible for the AC-47 success in one of the year's most important Allied victories. The recording is approximately 20 minutes in length and graphically tells, we feel, what actual combat conditions are like and the feelings of those who lived it. Tactical air power in the Republic of Vietnam from U.S. forces comes in many shapes and sizes, from the sleek F-4C Phantom to the tiny O-1 Bird Dog. At Duc Lap, every fighter, bomber, and observation aircraft used by the air forces of Vietnam and the United States was used, including B-52s. The 14th Special Operations Wing, aircraft and men, took a major share of the conversation with these men, whose lives were in our keeping. This is their story of spooky at Duc Lap.